Chapter 11. We need to talk about Kevin Caroll. All right, so when people think of the EDL, they immediately think of Tommy Robinson. Fair enough. But real talk? None of it would have gone down without my cousin Kevin Caroll. Kev was the co-founder, an elite-level builder, and just an all-around 10-10 bloke. If construction had a Jedi, he'd be Obi-Wan Kenobi. The guy's a legend. Thing is, me and Kev, total opposites. Like actual chalk and cheese. I'm this 5'6" little ball of chaos, while he's a 6'5" absolute unit. I'm all over the place, no structure, pure randomness. But Kev, the guy's got that OCD energy. If you pick him up from his house, I guarantee you he's gonna walk out, then back in, then back out, then back in again to check something random. Every single time. Predictable as a dad joke. And let's talk about his Boy Scout vibes. If it's snowing and I pull up outside his place, Kev won't just hop in. Nah, he's bringing a blanket, a shovel, 4 liters of water, and probably a whole survival kit, like we're trekking Everest instead of hitting up Tesco. Man stays prepared. If the world ever goes full apocalypse mode, you'd want to be stuck with Kev. Not your stereotypical EDL dude. Look, anyone tied to the EDL automatically gets labeled as some violent, right-wing nutjob, like they're just walking around, fueled by rage 24/7. That is so not Kev. Yeah, he's a big dude, and yeah, he can handle himself. Been about fitness his whole life, built like a tank, and moves like one too. But underneath all that, the guy's soft, like proper Dr. Dolittle vibes. Loves animals to a weird degree. Once found an injured bird on a construction site, nursed it back to health, and kept it in the hut till it could fly again. The lads gave him endless stick for it, but that's just who he is. He's also got some kind of weird connection with foxes. Like actual wild foxes pull up to his house like it's their local McDonald's. He feeds them in his backyard like it's completely normal. It's not, but that's Kev. The man with the presence. Kev's got that energy. At EDL demos, if things got tense, he'd just stand up, say a few words, and boom, crowd under control. No drama, no stress, just respect. He grew up in Luton, loves his city, and despite everything, never got into the football hooligan scene, though he was a big Luton Town fan. But man, losing his nephew Liam hit him hard. Kid was only 14, and Kev adored him. Liam got to be Luton Town's mascot for their first home game of the season, had the best day of his life, and then passed away that same afternoon. That kind of thing changes you. Kev was all about old school Luton, where black and white communities mixed effortlessly. He had massive respect from the West Indian community, could roll up to Blues Nights at 5-0 and be right at home. When things got real now, Kev was never the type to get himself in trouble. No criminal record, nothing. Until the Luton Soldiers' homecoming parade. That was the day everything flipped. The cops dragged him out of bed at 5:50 a.m. 8 officers. Just for calling a group of Muslim protesters who were screaming abuse at soldiers a bunch of wankers. I mean, come on. And the funniest part? In his police interview, they played a clip of him singing Bin Laden's Mother is a Whore and asked if it was him. Kev, without missing a beat, goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on a minute. Then he pauses, lets it hang, and goes, she hasn't made a complaint, has she? 'Cause if she has, I ain't got a problem with her. Just her wanker of a son. Even the cops cracked up. He got fined, of course. But trust me, he got his money's worth in entertainment value. When he was in court, the prosecution was trying to be all serious, reading out his statement, and Kev just deadpan goes, hold on, are we not all agreed that they're wankers? Like, the entire country knows this, and you're prosecuting me for saying it? Absolute gold. But that case? It was just the start. The EDL was already blowing up by then, and we were starting to get real attention. When I bottled it, Kev's appeal went to Luton Crown Court, and 200 to 300 EDL supporters showed up for him. And me? I didn't. I bottled it. I knew if I rocked up, every single person in Luton, Muslim and non-Muslim, would clock me. And I wasn't ready for people to know I was behind the EDL yet. So I made up some excuse and let Kev handle it alone. He smashed it, but man, I felt like a coward. Watching the footage the next day, seeing Kev walk out of court, giving a speech, leading a march through the town center, it hit me. He had balls. The poppy burning incident. Then came the infamous poppy burning protest. Anjem Choudhury's lot decided to pull that stunt on Armistice Day. If I'm being real, I couldn't believe the cops were just going to let it happen. Long story short, I went rogue, jumped a barrier, stormed into the middle of their lot, and made a scene. The cops dragged me out, arrested me, and tried to hit me with assaulting a police officer. Would have got 3 to 4 years in prison, except a TV cameraman caught everything on film and proved they were talking absolute rubbish. Meanwhile, guess who I see getting out of a police van a few hours later? Kev. They'd nabbed him too. Said he'd thrown a metal barrier at officers. Completely out of character, but they tried to make it stick. 5 cops swore under oath that they saw him do it, but they hadn't even coordinated their stories properly. One said he threw it over his head, one said he lobbed it sideways, just a mess. The judge saw right through it, called them out, and threw the case out. The near miss? One of the scariest moments? The time Kev almost got assassinated. One night, some bloke banged on his door, threw something, and walked off. Kev didn't think much of it until he drove to the end of his road and saw the same guy walking away. He stopped to ask if he'd seen any kids messing about. The guy turned around, reached into his hoodie, and Kev knew something was off. Next thing, the dude is full-on chasing him with a shotgun. Kev ran like his life depended on it, because it did, jumped a fence, and completely wrecked his toe and knee in the process. But that fence saved him, because the guy couldn't get over it while holding the gun. The police took ages to take it seriously, but eventually they put an armed guard on our houses, offered us new identities even, told us to disappear, cut ties with the EDL, and start over. We laughed in their faces. The madness of it all. Looking back, Kev and I both know this whole thing was insane, but when it came down to it, we had each other's backs. Kev was the guy, the solid one, the dependable one. He wasn't in it for an ego trip. He genuinely believed in what we were doing. And even now, if you ask him, he'll just shake his head and go, "That was all completely mad." And he wouldn't be wrong.